Hi, Ron Coddington here with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. This morning, I have been immersed in data, courtesy of Journal Storage, a nonprofit organization that stores archival, historically important journals and magazines that have been published in America for the last couple hundred years. Back around 2015, Journal Storage contacted me in recognition of Military Image's contributions to history and photography in America. As a result, all 40 plus years of the magazine are available. They are completely digitized and searchable. One of the great benefits of being on JSTOR.org is I can have any kind of customized report that I want, and I have a number of them. One of my favorite reports is the annual review of the top stories of the year. So if you look back over the last year, all the issues that we've published in 2022, and I'm going to cycle through the covers while I'm telling you that there have been this year, if you count up all of the columns and all of the feature stories, the grand total of articles that we've published is 75. And thanks to our friends at Journal Storage, I can tell how many folks have downloaded each and every one of those columns and stories. So what is becoming a bit of an annual tradition here at MI is to share the top downloads with our audience. It is a compliment to everyone who has contributed over the year. It is a interesting way to measure what our audience is interested in. Whether they get us online or in print, we get some sense of what resonates with folks. It certainly doesn't mean to suggest that the top 20 are somehow way heads and above better than all 75. All of the stories had a number of downloads, as you might imagine, but the top tier certainly seemed to get more attention than the other ones. Still, in my mind, they're all valuable stories because they touch on various segments of collecting photography, history, the Civil War, portraits, soldiers, sailors, citizens, all of the, I guess you could call it the generation of folks who participated in the Civil War and have left behind portraits from which we write all of the stories that appear in the magazine. So that's the intro. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through the top 20 and I'm going to do them in reverse order. So we're going to start with number 20. So here we go. If you have a drum or a drum roll, I suppose I should have got some music here, but imagine a drum roll in the background as we get started. So here we go, number 20. This is our column called The Citizenry. And in this particular column, we highlighted La Fille du Régiment, as my horrible French will tell you. This is about Daughters of the Regiment with the wonderful contribution of a photograph by Rick Brown. Coming in at number 19 is Photo Sleuth, another one of our columns. This is written by Kurt Luther. In this particular column, Kurt wrote about a new way to remember a Civil War veteran who lost his life trying to save history. It's the story of Samuel Abbott, a Civil War veteran who died in a fire while he was trying to save artifacts. This fire, by the way, happened in 1911 in the New York State Capitol. Coming in at number 18 is another column, Material Culture. This is based on a wonderful carte de visite from the Rick Carlisle collection of 4 soldiers holding Dimick rifles. They all served in the 66th Illinois Infantry, also known as Burge's sharpshooters. Number 17 is Beddoes' Bravery. This is a profile and courage of Ira Beddoe, who served with the 11th Illinois at Shiloh. The story is based on a wonderful portrait and an existing sword that is now part of Paul Denver's collection. Next up, number 16 is Hannibal's Freedom. This is the story of a man named Hannibal Turner. He was enslaved in South Carolina, and when the Illinois' 1st Scotch Regiment came through South Carolina in February of 1865, Hannibal escaped the plantation and attached himself to the regiment. Later on, became a member of the U.S. Colored Infantry. Number 15 is another photo sleuth. This was an interesting exploration of a group of U.S. Colored Infantry officers by Kurt Luther. Number 14 is the column Behind the Backdrop. We started this column a couple of years ago. Adam Oxfleischer is the author. His investigations into what you see behind soldiers and sailors is quite interesting. In this particular column, Adam explored the palm tree backdrop of Jackson, Michigan. Now, let's get to number 13. This is a contribution by Elizabeth A. Topping, illustrated with a wonderful image, and her contribution, her story, is a summary of Heroines of the Hearth, the role of women during the Civil War. Now, let's move on to number 12. Number 12 is the column Fakes, Forgeries, and Frauds. This is a long-running column by Perry Froney, who has been tracking fakes in Civil War photography since the 1990s. This particular column is called New Technology plus New Equipment equals Better Fakes. Moving on, number 11, the column Material Culture. This is the second time Material Culture appears in our top 20 list. This contribution is by Dr. Michael R. Cunningham. Our good friend Mike did this story on the gray gutta percha knapsack. Number 10, drum roll, we're halfway through. Number 10 is a story about Charles Singer of the 107th U.S. Colored Infantry. In 1864, he wrote an open letter that was published in a Philadelphia newspaper. The title of that letter was "Shall We Sustain the Government?" asking the broader question of why U.S. colored soldiers should support the Union. Number 9 is Under the Banner of Emancipation and National Unity. This story is based on an unusual photograph of 2 women who were wearing patriotic garb. It turns out that they attended a May 1863 meeting that was led by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and other prominent notables within the women's rights movement, combining that movement with the movement for freedom and equality for African Americans. Drum roll as we get to number 8, Birthplace of the American Zouave. This is a most interesting story by Ron Field, who looked at the origin story of Elmer Ellsworth and his connection to Chicago and how he was behind the craze that ended with so many Zouave regiments in the North and the South during the war. Getting down to number 7, we have Photo Sleuth, Kurt Luther's column. This one is about re-identifying a Pennsylvania cavalry company. An image that was in the Library of Congress now has a proper identification thanks to Kurt's work. Number 6, coming in at number 6, is The Rise and Fall of Union Spy Chief Lafayette Curry Baker, a wonderful profile by David B. Holcomb. Recommend checking it out. It sheds new light on the scoundrel that David suggests he was. Number 5, How They Went Forth to the Harvest of Death. This is the story of the U.S. regulars at Gettysburg, based on the collection and the research of Charles T. Joyce. Chuck is a senior editor and a regular contributor, does a wonderful job shining a light on the regulars, which typically don't get quite that much attention at Gettysburg. Coming in at number 4 is our cover story from the winter 2022 issue. This is Charles Ricard Reese, the acclaimed photographer in Richmond, Virginia during the Civil War. His distinctive images detailed by Dominic A. Serrano, Dom, a longtime contributor to the magazine and a connoisseur of Reese photographs. Getting down to the wire, here's the last 3. Coming in at number 3 is Illinois Faces. This was a collection of approximately 50 images of Illinois soldiers that tells the stories of the contributions of the state during the war years, introduced by Austin Sundstrom and featuring collections of a number of individuals in the Civil War photo collecting community. All righty, we're down to 2 more. Coming in at number 2 is A Field Guide to Union Hussars. It's the second entry to be selected or make the top list by Ron Field, another uniform group that does not get a lot of attention. Ron details Hussars in the Union Army around 1861, those early years going later on into the war. Some unique outfits, to say the least. And coming in at number 1, time for the big drum roll. Here we go. Is Chris Nelson's Abraham Lincoln Abroad. This is a collection of views of Abraham Lincoln as seen through other countries. So there you have it, my friends. The top 20 stories in Military Images magazine for 2022. I appreciate all the contributors who have given so much of their time, their knowledge, their expertise. These folks have made such a difference in the magazine. I truly appreciate everything they've done to shine a light on the collecting hobby and to be able to help inform all of us about American history, particularly Civil War history, and how it connects to popular culture, how it connects to events that we know from today. So until the next episode, happy trails. Bye.